Imagine a vehicle so large it makes a freight train look small. It is 1960. The Cold War is at its freezing peak. The United States military is terrified that Soviet bombers might attack across the North Pole. To detect them, they are building the DU line, a chain of radar stations deep in the Arctic Circle. But there is a huge logistical problem. There are no roads in the Arctic. There are no train tracks. Just thousands of miles of ice, snow, and deadly terrain. If the bombers come and the railroads are destroyed by nuclear strikes, how do you resupply the front lines? How do you move heavy equipment across a frozen wasteland where temperatures drop to 60 below zero? The answer came from the mind of a mad genius of engineering. He didn't build a truck, he didn't build a train, he built a hybrid of both. He created the TC-497 Overland train Mark II. It was the longest off-road vehicle ever built by human hands. It stretched nearly 600 feet from nose to tail. It rode on 54 tires, each one 10 feet tall. It was a 450-ton monster designed to survive the apocalypse. This is the story of the land train, the machine that carried its own railway, and the ambitious failure that left it rotting in the desert. To understand this machine, you have to understand its creator, R.G. LeTourneau. LeTourneau was the Thomas Edison of heavy equipment. He was a man who dropped out of school at the age of 14, but went on to hold hundreds of patents. He believed that there was no machine too big to build. His philosophy was simple. He hated clutches. He hated transmissions. He hated drive shafts. He believed they were weak points that wasted power. So he invented something radical, the electric wheel. In a normal truck, a single engine sends power through a complex mechanical system to turn the wheels. LeTourneau threw all that away. He placed a powerful electric motor inside the hub of every single wheel. This meant that there was no mechanical connection between the engine and the tires, just a wire carrying electricity. The Overland train was the ultimate expression of this idea. Every single one of its 54 wheels was a driver. It didn't have four-wheel drive. It had 54-wheel drive. If one wheel got stuck in a ravine or buried in soft snow, the other 53 would simply push it out. It was virtually unstuckable. But where did the electricity come from to power this city on wheels? Inside the massive control car, which looked like a futuristic red spaceship, sat 4 solar gas turbine engines. These were essentially jet engines, similar to what you would find in a helicopter. But instead of producing thrust to fly, they spun massive generators. The roar of these turbines was incredible. When the land train started up, it sounded like a squadron of fighter jets preparing for takeoff. The combined power output was nearly 5,000 horsepower. The engineering inside the cab was like science fiction. The vehicle required a crew of 6 men to operate. There was a captain, a navigator, engineers, and even a cook. Because this machine was designed to disappear into the Arctic wilderness for weeks at a time, it had full living quarters inside the control car. It had bunks for sleeping, a kitchen for meals, a toilet, and a sophisticated radar system for navigating through whiteout blizzards. It was effectively a land-based submarine, designed to keep its crew alive in the most hostile environment on Earth. Driving it was a surreal experience. The pilot sat high above the ground in a glass bubble, looking out over the Arctic landscape. He didn't use a steering wheel. He used a small console of switches and dials. But the most incredible feature, the one that made the land train possible, was the steering system. When you pull a trailer with a normal truck, the trailer cuts the corner. If you have a train that is 600 feet long with 10 trailers, cutting the corner creates a disaster. The last car would crash into buildings, fall off cliffs, or drag through deep snowdrifts. LeTourneau solved this with a brilliant electronic tracking system. Every joint between the cars had a sensor. When the control car turned a corner, it sent a signal to the car behind it. The second car would wait until it reached the exact same spot where the control car turned, and then it would turn its wheels to the exact same angle. Then it would pass the signal to the third car, and the fourth. The result was mesmerizing. The train moved like a snake. If the driver steered around a large rock, every single one of the trailers would steer around that rock in the exact same path. It could snake through forests and canyons, leaving a single set of tracks in the snow. In 1962, the Army took delivery of this beast at the Yuma Proving Ground in Arizona. It was the ultimate test. They loaded it with cargo. They drove it over massive sand dunes. They drove it up steep grades. It worked perfectly. With a top speed of 20 miles per hour, it wasn't fast, but it was relentless. It could carry 150 tons of cargo over terrain that would stop a tank. It had a range of nearly 400 miles without refueling. It seemed like the future of military logistics. The Army imagined fleets of these land trains crossing the polar ice caps, supplying nuclear missile bases, immune to the destruction of traditional railroads. But just as the land train was ready to conquer the world, a new invention appeared that killed it instantly: the heavy-lift helicopter. In the 1960s, helicopter technology advanced rapidly. Machines like the Sikorsky Sky Crane became powerful enough to lift tanks, bridges, and supplies over mountains. Helicopters didn't need a 600-foot train. They didn't need tires. They didn't need hours to navigate a canyon. They were faster, cheaper, and more flexible. They could fly over the obstacles that the land train had to drive around. Almost overnight, the land train became obsolete. It was a dinosaur before it even left the testing ground. The Army realized that in a modern war, a slow-moving 600-foot-long target was easy prey for enemy bombers. The Army parked the TC-497 in the desert at Yuma. They turned off the turbines. The crew went home, and there it sat. For 60 years, the Arizona sun has baked the paint. The massive tires, which cost thousands of dollars each, have slowly rotted in the heat. Today, if you visit the Yuma Proving Ground Heritage Center, you can still see the control car. It sits there like a crashed spaceship from a retro future. It is a striking sight, looming over the parking lot. But the rest of the train is gone. The trailers were scrapped years ago, sold for the high-quality steel that LeTourneau used. The Overland train remains a symbol of Cold War engineering. It represents a time when the solution to every problem was, make it bigger. It was a time of boundless optimism, where engineers believed they could build their way out of any geographical challenge. It was a machine built for a war that never happened, designed to drive across a frozen wasteland, only to end its days in the burning sand. It is the longest, strangest, and most ambitious vehicle ever to roll on wheels, the land train. Thanks for watching Iron Legacy. If you enjoyed this journey into heavy machinery history, hit the subscribe button and let me know in the comments. If the zombie apocalypse happened today, would you choose this machine as your mobile fortress, or is it just too big to hide? See you in the next one.